Hello there, ladies, gentlemen and unicorns. Welcome to another stream of yours truly. Thank you so much that you could make it today, this time at the usual, at the regular time. Sorry about last week where, there was a misunderstanding and I blame Twitter for updating the app while I was sending the tweet, so the tweet didn't go. Anyway, I blame Twitter. Just to be safe. So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for dropping by. As I see, it's more than one person. I'm very grateful that you make time on your Sunday for my little stream. I've prepared myself today a little bit more than usual. Namely, I have more coffee. It's spiced coffee again, as last week. I'm addicted to those coffee spices. They're wonderful. And of course, I got myself a glass of water because it's fun and healthy to stay hydrated. So whenever I say unicorn, let's all have a sip of water. As Lady Mistleaf already pointed out in the chat. Let me try if my chat command works. Unicorn. Yes, it works. Wonderful. Okay, so today's program, where do I have my program for today? There we go. Hi. So today's program will be a puzzle game development on the one hand. I will just give you a short recap of the puzzle game design that I came up with the community in the last stream. And of course, wrong button, there we go, this one here. Last week I said I wanted to start with small little projects, artistic projects, and I asked around my patrons especially if they have anything that they would want or need in terms of, just some small little assets for games they might be working on. And if I remember correctly, Lady Mistleaf had something that I could help her with. So I'm very much looking forward to this as well. The music is a bit loud here, so I hope it's not distracting on your end. And Mr. Julius is also here. And Frank says, I'm not sure how much attention I'll have for the stream today. I have a headache. Oh my god. I hope you get some aspirin, but I'm totally not offended if you don't want to follow the stream, because my voice may be a bit too much, especially on your headache. So maybe it's okay. I completely understand it if you don't want to follow the stream, because I had a lot of coffee and still having some more coffee. So it might get a little bit exhausting, especially if you have some sort of headache. Okay, Lady Mistleaf says she has a lot of things. I want to dedicate the stream to helping me. I want to dedicate this entire stream. Yeah, I thought to warm up, I can do a little something, whatever you need, and then we'll jump into the puzzle game design. Again, for those of you who don't know which puzzle I'm talking about, no worries. I will just try to briefly recap what I arrived at last week and try to outline the rules so far that I've come up with, and then we start in Game Maker to implement a first prototype. At least I'm not quite sure if I managed to get the rules into the first prototype in one stream, but I hope that we can set up a tile-based playing field and have some sort of level generation, very basic, that we can get started. All right, there is my full camera. So yes, Lady Mistleaf, with what can I help you today? The artist is in, so I was thinking maybe some advice on a color theme. Oh, of course. What I would need to know is, are there any colors important to your game, or any certain objects that you want to have? Or the other thing is, from what I know of your game, it's in the very early stages, so everything is just a colored block, a colored rectangle. And anything, do you already have a vibe that you want to go with your game, or anything, just any kind of atmosphere that you want to go with? In the meantime, let me start up Photoshop, that we can start right away. And maybe I also need my tablet, at least the drawing tablet. And let's hope that when I plug it in while live streaming, that it still works, because as usual, as soon as you want to demonstrate something, things try to stab a knife into your back, especially if it's kind of technical things, as we all know. I'm probably the patron saint of technical difficulties at this moment. Okay, this is a huge Photoshop window. There we go. So let me switch over. And right, Lady Miss Cliff says, I plan on making a game that will include all colors. I'm not worried about the game itself, but maybe a website. But for maybe a website color scheme. Okay, basic feel of the game would be similar to Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. So all colors, that's a lot of them. I've heard there are 16 million colors, 16.7 million colors. I've heard, but usually you never need more than 256. Or if you really die hard, you only need 4 colors that are black, white, fuchsia, and cyan. I mean, what could go wrong? And December Days Game says, hello, any advice to create a great atmosphere? That's really hard. I mean, it depends on what kind of atmosphere you're going for. Is it a 2D game? Is it a 3D game? Is it a strategy game? Are you first person? I would need to know a bit about what kind of atmosphere. And it might be a long-time goal, says Lady Miss Leaf, for all colors. So, a friendly Stardew Valley, what was it, Harvest Moon scheme. So, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you're going into a different direction conceptually, but I'm thinking of a warm summer afternoon day, where everything is very lush, and the sun is not quite setting, but it's not noon anymore, it's late afternoon in the summer, and everything is just very nice and friendly. Is this something that we are on the same page? And Doom DS says, good evening, Doom. Thank you for dropping by. And Incan Imbola says, it's happening. We're gonna see the color scheme creation process from the master of colors himself. Oh my god, is he here? Is Simon Stollenhag here? I haven't noticed, but maybe he's watching, so I'm trying to remain professional as much as I manage to. So basically the starting area is beachfront tropical. Okay, I see. And like a creepy but not threatening, for example, says December Days Games for a creepy atmosphere. Okay, so we're having 2 conversations at the same time now. So I try to keep them separate, or at least to to let you know about which one I'm talking. Okay, for the tropical game, or the tropical feel, I see sand and blues from a very radiant ocean and a clear sky, and maybe some green from palm trees. And about December Days, creepy but not threatening game. Creepy is always helps when you have something that's dark but not entirely black, because if it's entirely black, it's stressing and probably too annoying, or it gets into horror. And if you can, for atmosphere, always work with some drone on the audio levels, just something, maybe a little bit reverberant on the audio, because keeping things pretty dark and have some sort of audio atmosphere that it's not entirely quiet when the player doesn't do anything. I think this could help. Okay, so color scheme, right? Let me bring up a nice tool, which was the one that I used, color scheme generator. There are many color scheme generators out there, but I have a certain one that I always use. There is one thing from Adobe. So if you're working with Adobe, let me just bring this up here. Enable all. No, I don't want to enable all cookies. Enable all cookies. I mean, this sounds great, but okay. So if you go to color.adobe.com, there you find this little color scheme creation tool. Yes, we enable all the cookies. The cool thing about this is that you can export what you have to pretty much all your Adobe products via the Adobe library. And you can also select a different color harmony here. And you also get, which is very nice, just you can double click and copy if you need some web colors for your website or something. But this is not my favorite color picker. The one that I'm grown most fond of is Peloton.com. Peloton.com. And I've typed it incorrectly, so let's just copy and paste it from here. Except, so you probably don't see my mouse pointer right now, because again I forgot to start my glass brick. Yeah, this one, the bad thing about this is a completely enveloped with advertisements, which is bad, but I really like this one, I think, over pretty much all the others, because one thing, you can actually draw here into the shades and tints while you're going. So this is at least for me my tool of choice. Right, going back to the chat, I was honestly thinking the same sand, water, greens, says Lady Miss Leaf, but one of the color wheel, they are all right next to each other, so I wasn't sure if it was a good idea. And Frank says, if your audience is Phil and you want creepy horror, just use clashing colors and he'll run away. Yeah, this is horror. This is horror. I mean, sometimes I got a certain fondness for certain kinds of clashing colors, but there are others like red and fuchsia which are too close to each other. So maybe this creeps me out a bit. And Commander Stitch is here. How are you doing? Yeah, how are you doing? I hope I've heard you came down with a bad case of the Rona, so I hope you're recovering and doing well. Thank you for asking. Wonderful. Okay, so where were we? Right, oceanfront color scheme. Okay, I would go for something, maybe have this tetrad color harmony here with a complementary color. So this is what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking like along those lines here, maybe something that's red, orange, yellow, and then blue on the other end. You could also add maybe some sort of greens in there. So basically I would be thinking about this kind of color scheme here. So let me just quickly bring it over to Photoshop and just very quickly make a good old 10,024 by 768. Does anyone remember this one? I think this was super VGA back in the day. So right, let me just try it out to see it in action, how it works. So maybe we could use this for our generic background. Then of course with the blue, we don't have to have this dark blue, but I think it's a good starting point just to keep the blue. And but of course, as long as you're in the same hue as the blue, you can go wild inside the color picker. Let me zoom up, zoom in. Why can't I zoom in? Did I again change the keyboard shortcuts here for my glass brick? It's Alt and Windows. Yeah, this is what I've been pushing, but it doesn't work, probably because the color picker is open right now. No, Alt and Windows does zilch. Why? I don't know. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to zoom in there into the color picker, where basically when you have a hue, like those are our 4 hues, you can go wild here with tints and shades. So you can mix any color with white or black because it doesn't change the hue of the color. So if we need a brighter blue, just don't work here too much with the hue if you can, but it's completely fine if you need something that's a bit brighter to go into this direction here. Let me try this out. And look at this, now we got a nice sky. We got a hint of sea in the background here. And I think this is quite nice. So let me pick this blue again and let's have some kind of gradient here going on a little bit, something like this. Yeah, this is an ugly gradient. You know what? Why not use computer aided gradients while we're at it? So yeah, why not just, this was too much. This was apparently too much. Something like this for the sky. And let me just clip it. Or maybe we could reflect the sky, something like this, that it's dark on the other side and brighter towards the horizon. I think this could be nice. And yeah, as for the foreground here, no, this was not what I intended. As for the foreground here, now we're pretty much in the sand territory. I said you could also add a little bit of green, and I think this would help. But as a color here that works quite well is this red tone here. Let me just quickly try it here. Where is my favorite brush? My Phil's Pencil 2019, this one here. This was too small. There we go, 10 pixels wide. So opacity 100. So for details, or pretty much anything that's in the shade, I wouldn't go towards making something just more dark. But since we got this nice little red hue here, you could go for something that you want to shade. You know what, let's quickly make here a dune in the sand, or maybe a little sand castle tower. Just something that has a bit of depth to it. So then I would just use here the orange for what's in the shaded part. And if you really need a shadow, you could either go with this red one here, which I think looks quite nice, or alternatively you could also use this dark blue here for the shadow color, which would also work. So if I'm just drawing some more dunes there in the background, maybe you can see how that it's very harmonic in terms how things are coming together. But maybe of course you probably need more colors. But for the background, if you can, I'm not quite sure if it's a 2D jump and run, at least from what I know, it looked a little bit like it. I would use no more than 2 or 3 different hues like we have here. So I think just this orange and the blue work quite well. And for the foreground, I would also add maybe a green. But which green to add? Let's quickly see here on the color picker. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to Peloton. I think there it's a bit easier to see. So we're here in the red and the yellow. So essentially, if we say that we turn and twist a little bit and spread it here a bit further away, we still get this blue, but we also get this sort of warm yellowy green. You don't want your green to go towards bluish. Actually, you wanted to keep it some sort of this yellow friendly green. And now what changed here is this red tone, but we've lost this orange tone that we had in between, which I think is okay, because like I said, for the sky, I'm just going to copy this again. For the sky, we could go with either type of blue. So if the blue in the sky leans a bit more towards purple, let's try this. I'm just using here the hue and saturation to change here the hue of the sky. It could also look very nice. And now we got this green here and the red for the foreground, or anything that needs to stand out. I'm just quickly sketching out here something. It's really very, very simple, but assuming again this is some sort of platformer jump and run, so this is maybe here the foreground where you got some platforms for players to jump on. And what you can probably see is that I'm using colors that are very strong in terms of contrast, of hue contrast. Of course, you don't have to have this hue contrast. My God, it's a Mario level here again. Don't have to have this harsh contrast here between the red and the blue. You could also use maybe a darker red or something. Of course, this would also work well. And the other thing that we have here is this green, and maybe you can see maybe here in contrast here with the yellow, it's a bit it blends too much together. So the foreground doesn't really stand out that much from the background. So for this sake, I would say we could go a little bit more into the darker shade of green. And now if you have something green here, well, now it blends into the into the blue, right? So in this terms, if those are, I don't know, pickups or something, we should really try and give them some sort of highlights, maybe something like this. And again, for the shadows, if I want something to cast shadows here, maybe for those blobs here, yeah, this was a bit too strong perhaps, but we could also use this kind of blue shadowy party. I mean, it's too strong now. Maybe I would somehow try to make it work here, just with a darker shade of green. Yeah, I think the darker shade of green would work a bit better. No, this was not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. So yeah, this, at least this I would see for this kind of sandy, friendly afternoon feel. But of course, maybe you want this red. Maybe the red is too much. But we could change this, of course, instead of having those platforms red, because red is a pretty strong color, right? Maybe if we try to just switch it around, that we have maybe green or blue. We could also use blue in the background, and maybe have those power-up orbs here more in the red. So let me just quickly try this. So this would be an alternative, but again, I think with this color scheme, the most important thing is to make sure that the foreground and the background are very well separated. And for this, usually I would say just limit the contrast on the background. There are multiple ways to do this. My favorite way of just making sure that the background really is always, it feels like it is always in the back, is use strong contrasts in the foreground. And to lower the contrast, I have it here in the entire background, well, apart from this big orange Garfield colored blob. So I have everything here in just one layer. And what we could do is, for the background, I just use the sky color, pick here my sky color, make a new solid and put it on top of everything. And then I just turn down the opacity. Oh, this was the drawing opacity, not the layer opacity. There we go. I just turn down the opacity just a little bit, and suddenly it really feels like it's hazy in the background, much more so. The downside, of course, in this case is that the blue of the sky makes this yellow a bit subdued. So maybe we could also, instead of using the sky blue, let's try, instead of the blue, just the yellow. And suddenly the sky turns a bit gray, but it feels like it has this sort of warm filter on top of it. And if you're not quite sure, just desaturate it, and now it's a gray solid that's on top of everything. Again, it loses a bit of the saturation, but it really makes it in the background. But this is always something, if you can avoid it. I mean, this looks much more pleasant and much more sunny and friendly when it's just the different colors that you use for background and foreground. So there I did a lot of talking, and there was a lot of activity in the chat, so I tried to catch up now. Okay. My God, sorry that I've scrolled or talked so much without paying attention to the chat. So Frank, Commander Stitch, is doing well. This is good. And he's over the Rona, which is very good. So personally would prefer having green as well, says Lady Misleaf, right? But not a color expert, so I'm asking you if it is a good idea. Yeah, green, as you can see, green definitely works. Just not this bright limey green, I think. But as long as the green tends to go a little bit more in the yellow, then it works very well with the sand. And maybe if I mean, the platforms here are now a bit bluish, you could also have the green go a little bit towards blue. But let me continue with the chat before saying something that's not relevant. Okay, so it's a top-down 2D like Zelda on this Super Nintendo. Okay, so this helps a lot, because now this doesn't work well with what I have here. So for the sandy beach, on a top-down perspective, you see much more of the ground, right? Because with a side scroller, of course, you see a lot of sky, and top-down you hardly see any sky unless it's for some sort of cutscenes. So back to the drawing board. I don't know what I did here, so I just copy and paste this over. Yes, from this color scheme here, I just pick this orange and pretty much fill up. Fill up. My God, when I say a stupid joke like that, I need some sort of badumts. And you know what? I have it. Great. So, okay, so if you're on the beach area, I would again go for this yellow here. And maybe we have some waterfront there. So again, I would pick this. It's a purple color. It's not really blue, but I think this could work well with the other colors there. So I make it a bit brighter there. And now I'm just trying out and to see, yeah, this might be the surf here. And make it even brighter there for some sort of foam. Yeah, that's too much foam there. The brush is too big. So maybe something like this for the foam. Again, it's just of the same hue, really. And there is wet sand, of course. So again, I pick the yellow, the orange color that we have, and just make it a bit darker, just a bit darker, and to give this beach a bit more definition. Maybe also I try very quickly, where do I have my scatter brushes? There we go, fills, splatter, fills, salt, scattered. So yeah, just to make it a bit more sandy here. Again, this is just the hue there, this one, it's the same hue all over, just a little bit darker, just more shaded. Okay, but you said some more greens, and again, not a fan of the green that came up here in the color scheme. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to change this green here. I would make it a bit darker, like so, and I try now with the hue. Yeah, maybe if it's too much towards the blue. No, of course the hue was correct. Something like this, but it was just a bit too bright. Because with this green, I think this could work very well. So I just draw over it and draw here. Where is my brush? There it is. Why don't I see anything? Yeah, maybe now some brush work there, and some slight tufts of some sort of grass or weed. But right now it just stands on top of everything. So again, we need to integrate it a bit more into the background. And for that, again, I would pick the yellow hue and just take it of a darker shade there. And why don't I see anything there? Oh, of course, I picked the wrong color. So as for shadows, just giving it a little bit like so already works very well to integrate it a bit more into the ground that we already have here. And with that, you still have this one red tint there for anything that's really important to stand out. I mean, right now it's a very harmonious image, I would say. At least this is for the background, and for the foreground, maybe we have some sort of crabs going around here, looking very bad. I mean, this doesn't look really angry. This looks actually quite cute, I have to say. But yeah, and now I think because this color is very saturated and still looks nice in contrast with the others, the enemies, no matter where they are, they would stand out in this color scheme. So maybe this helps. And again, oh, I said unicorn 10 minutes ago. And also Fernofy said, yeah, green was a bit missing from the tropical feel. Again, 10 minutes ago. I'm really sorry that the chat has vanished. Right, maybe use the green as a highlight. And Pickalix says, sorry comrades, just joining the party. Are we keep evolving puzzle game idea from previous stream, right? Yes, we do. Right now I'm just helping out a bit with the color schemes for Lady Mistleaf's game. And yeah, this is what Lady Mistleaf already said. The Garfield color, right. Pixel Prophecy, keep reading, right. Also Pixel Art then, because you said like SNES of Zelda. Lol, okay, so I think I've caught up with the chat. So I hope this helps so far in terms with the color scheme. So if we would need to have some more definition, let's say, for example, there in those greens, again, I would just pick the color and make it a bit darker here. And maybe add some kind of leaves there. Maybe it's a bit too strong now, because as always, the contrast really catches our eyes. So maybe this contrast is a bit too much So I'm just undoing everything now, all the brush strokes. I hope I can undo them entirely because it's too dark. The green that I came up with is too dark, so I just paint over this now. Let me pick a darker shade that is not as contrasty. This still looks contrasty actually. Yeah, with green you have to be careful because with green even slight changes are very perceptible to us. With dark blues it's not as much. You really have in your eyes you have those different kinds of receptors, and our vision is very well tuned to different shades of greens, but as soon as we get into dark blues the colors tend to blend together pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, this is how you could add more definition there. And maybe sometimes you wonder, could I also use different colors of the same scheme that I can blend together? And I would say if it's in the same scheme, yes, of course you can. For example, I could also use a little bit of the blue here. And the fun thing is the blue looks bluish down here, but as soon as I'm here in these bushes here, it actually starts looking a bit purple. So maybe you could also use this to your advantage. The good thing about using just the colors of the scheme is that it keeps looking coherent. And even if you add something like text and stay to the colors of the scheme, it doesn't look like it's some sort of a different element to everything. Lorem ipsum. No, let's say level 1, the beach or something. Picking a font is a completely different. Yeah, let's pick the Falcon Pro because this is a nice font. And again, this also extends, of course, to your user interface. Should you have any that, if you can use the colors of the scheme, I mean, now this looks really bad. Where do I have my controls for? No, this was not it. Window, workspace, reset. Yeah, this is what I want because I have my palettes for the character separation, the line height. There we go. Right. Lady Miss Liv says, you missed the part where I mentioned it was more for a website color picking, but I got to see your color process and how to modify colors to fit your needs, so it was very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Glad that it was that I was not just painting frantically into the abyss. Don't forget to breathe. Oh my god. This is what I breathe. You ask for some colors, you get a game prototype as an answer. I mean, I always need something to do my painting, right? So yeah, and maybe I want to see this girl or guy in the game because it just looks so derpy. Right, so yeah, if this helps in terms of colors, I could also send you the actual palette or the values for this palette that I used. Maybe I just bring it over here for you to pick, because then or if I just post the PNG file of it into the Discord, what is the best for you? If I mean, you don't have to use the exact same colors, of course. I mean, it works though. I was doubting how it would work, but seeing it put together like this, it's impressive how it works. Yeah, this is really the helpful thing with color harmonies is that as long as you it's a bit like programming. As long as you bow to the rules of it, you can modify them a little bit and twist and turn them like I have here with using the blue also there for the shadows. I mean, it's not super rigid, but if you stay within the little wiggle room that you have of a certain color harmony, everything just looks nice, and it's magic sometimes. The problem is when you have, or you might, maybe this is interesting, you need additional colors and which colors to add. And my advice is, as long as you don't have to add different hues and just stay here within the shades and tints, you're good. But what if, say, you need something like that's what don't we have here? Maybe need a pink or something, and you might want to go just a little bit off the red so that it doesn't feel like it's straying too far from the color harmony. But now when I draw here in this pink, suddenly it starts to clash. And the reason for this is that it's exactly the problem that you tried maybe to avoid was that it's too close to a color that's already here in the scheme. For example, this red is here on the hue strip. So if I need something that's essentially between some colors that we have, I would try to keep it as far apart from the other colors as possible. For example, if we need this kind of pink or purple, I pick this color here, which is this red thing here, and the next color would be blue. So if I go between those colors, you can see here that maybe this is the sweet spot between those two colors. So if I add a new swatch here, then it still looks a little bit like an outlier, but it works better, but not quite. It's still too close to the red. And this is actually the a bit annoying part when it comes to colors. It's so much based on perception. So while we've just seen it that this purple is pretty much exactly halfway between this red and this blue, well, it looks very much like this red. It actually clashes with this red, but it looks like it's much further away from blue as it is from red, but of course this is not the case. So again, I'm just trying to make it visually to fall between those two colors, and I think this would actually be the sweet spot. And if we look at how it looks now here on the color picker, so here is red, here is blue, and actually it's a bit more to the blue than it was before. So this is how I would add, should I needed more colors. This is how I shade the little crab. Didn't work. Discord is fine, says Lady Miss Lee. Fine, then I will just send you the Photoshop file and also PNG version of this one. Let me just quickly save it to desktop. Color scheme version 1. This is not how you write scheme. This is how you write scheme. And also a PNG file. Just to be safe. Save smallest file, because we like to save the internet by transferring the smallest files possible so that everyone can continue streaming Netflix. May I recommend something as well, says December Day Games. Yes, of course, please go ahead. And Crazy Cucumber 88 says, Wet Wood from Salzburg. Yes, I'm here in Salzburg. Do I have something Salzburgian here? No, but all I can say is Mozart. Yay. And may I ask your input on something? Of course, PNG is fine. I don't have Photoshop. Yeah, then PNG. Then I only send you the PNG. And of course, you can ask my input on something, provided you're talking to me, not to someone on the chat. Mozart balls, exactly, Mozart balls. This is always a tourist favorite that we have here. I am living in the Linzergasse. Oh my God, this is really not far away. So can I see you? Probably can't see you. I'm living in the northern part of the town, so probably can't see you. And the chocolate, says Commander Stitch. Yeah. And Low Spec is a good palette website. Low Spec. Never heard of Low Spec. Low Spec, free tools and resources for people making pixel art. So yeah, of course, whatever tools help you get a certain job done, use those tools. I really don't want to force any kind of tool onto you. You probably know this yourself. Pick the tool that you know you can work best, or that feels most intuitive to you. Whatever it is, there are no wrong choices in the end. It's not what matters, is not the tool, but the result. So yeah, this I haven't heard of Low Spec before, so thank you so much. It's lowspec.com, and it's written exactly like this for anyone who doesn't know. You know what, let me even copy and paste it there into the chat so that you can just simply click it. And Lady Miss Liv says, when I say I plan to use all colors, Google Stardew Valley Pelican Town map. Pelican Town, oh, Pelican Town map, Stardew Valley. Which one? And also in which season? immersive maps on Reddit. This is nice. My god, this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. A demake of Pelican Town. Yeah, let's the egg hunt. So the first. So this one from the community wiki. All right, yeah, but essentially there aren't so many different colors here. Let me just count them. And if I would be creating a palette from this one, you know what? Let's do this actually. Just make a new one, new window, and pull it out. This was the map. This is not what I wanted. I want this to go here. I said to go here, and this is for the palette. Okay, so what are our dominant colors? What? Oh, this is the wrong window. There we go. Why I clicked into this window? Why won't you let me zoom out this one? Right, sorry. Okay, so what are the dominant colors that we have here? And I would say it's green, mostly this lush green. So probably this one. Come on, I'm too fast for Photoshop. So I think this would be more or less the dominant color. So you can, with just different hues and shades, or not hues, different tints and shades, you could essentially draw pretty much this part. The other thing is, of course, this wonderful sand. Or let's make it even nicer here. Yeah, let's fill this with the foreground color. Then we got this little river flowing through. This would be our blue. And of course we got something to contrast. This is this reddish soil there. So I would say something like this. And this would be, at least from my first glance, the color scheme of Pelican Town. So it's not so much all the colors, but I mean, of course, there are certain variations. For example, the roof of this house here, and also of the other, of the, is this the museum? Yeah, it's a bit towards purple, and also, of course, there with the cherry trees. So you would also have maybe, let me just pick this purple here. Well, it's pink, it's mauve, actually. But I think with those colors, you can pretty much draw the entire thing, I would assume. So it's not that many colors. Of course, when you go in and look at the pixel art, I mean, Concerned Ape, I think they spent like half a decade and constantly redrawing the same sprites, just with additional proficiency. So I think this, from terms of the palette, if you go with this and then just make sure that you stay within the hue, and you can wiggle a little bit, maybe there, for example, this tree, of course, is more towards the cyan. But overall, I think those colors here can go a long way, essentially, with Pelican Town. Again, with this blue here, this is the river. If you desaturate it and you get to this gray, you can, let me quickly try it, you can draw some of, there we go, maybe this house here, or if you go even further into the monochrome, you can have the color, the value of this trailer. But again, if you go very saturated and dark, suddenly you get here on the playground this color here. So essentially this is the water, and this is just one hue, and you can stretch this single one hue. Also with this house down here, you can, let me zoom in here so it's a bit more obvious. So with just one hue you can actually have quite a range. For example, here the supermarket is essentially just this one hue, in different tints and shades. So yeah, my point is you can go a long way from there. And Rayleigh Misliff says, okay, red squares don't count. So red squares, you mean this soil part here, right? So well actually, my god, internet, it's this brown. Actually, it's this brown tone here. Just if you saturate it a little bit more, it becomes this red. So actually you have red, should you need it. 4 years. Oh yeah, 4 years. My god, just 4 years. it took to make Stardew Valley. And the Joja Mart, right? Wow, this will completely change the way I need to draw my stuff. Yeah, again, it's once you see it, you can't unsee it, and this is both burden and blessing of being a colorist. You see, okay, there is this one color that's used there in different tints and shades. I wonder when I look at this roof here, this again, it could be. You could also almost draw this roof here when you go pretty dark. Just again, I'm picking this brown color here and go very dark and very saturated on it. And you arrive roughly at the color here of this roof. So again, it's just those 4 to 5 hues, and it's amazing. I love colors, I really do, because they're so versatile. That's actually eye-opening. Oh yeah, glad that I could convey a little bit of my passion for colors and everything to you out there. So again, it's a super harmonious color scheme that Concerned Ape came up with. So maybe I could also make this brown here to red. This was not the red that I wanted. This red here. So it's not so far off from the color scheme that we had before there for the beach. If we compare it, yeah, the red is much more saturated here. But again, with red and especially with orange and reds, they are very versatile. Especially with reds, you can use them when very saturated for certain accents, but also you can use them for soil, and the darker you go, it can even work there for dark wood, for example, but it's all the same hue. If you go brighter, maybe something like here, very saturated but also very bright, maybe some morning clouds. This is, for example, if I were to draw a morning cloud, this would be my morning cloud color, and it's the same hue as those here. So yeah, I love colors. I'm so glad I asked. Yeah, so glad that you found this helpful. It's not so far off from the Windows logo. Yeah, again, I always say there are not that many colors in the end, but it's usually what you make of it. I mean, with the Windows logo, yeah, of course, I just picked the primary colors and green. I mean, it's how many logos are there that just use the entire rainbow? And for one thing, I think with logo colors, usually it's less is better, but then of course there are some things like the new Google logos or the new Google app icons, which are just all the Google colors in the icon, and you really can't tell them apart by just glancing at them, because everything is now of the same color. And this is actually quite distracting, because I always thought, yeah, my Gmail is red, my calendar is blue, my Google Maps is green, and this is how I see at a glance what's going on. So if you use too many colors, it actually can be quite distracting, because again, less is more, and when you combine it cleverly, you can squeeze out a lot from just 4 or 5 different hues. Cool. Okay, so I hope this helped. Do you want also the Pelican Town palette? You know what? I will also send you the Pelican Town palette, Pelican Town as PNG. So because again, if you pick this, apparently you can't go wrong from there. And Commander Stitch says, you're right about the meshing of Google colors. Another thing I was disappointed to see was the removal of text for icons. Inbox trash. Yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of having at least, I mean, yeah, there's on the one hand you can go overboard with too much text or text labels on something, but sometimes it really helps. There was I think the Worms games, not the first one, but was it Worms 2 or Worms 3, where the entire menu was just icon based, and I'm not quite sure whether I liked it, because sometimes I think you have to find a sweet spot between where to use text or text labels and where you can get away with just using the pictograms, right? So this was the beach and Pelican Town. So I can close Peloton, and I think when nobody objects, let me bring up the news, we can go over to the puzzle game design. or puzzle game development that I wanted to do today with you. Okay, first I get rid of my drawing tablet so that I have more typing space there. And yeah, the goal is today to just lay the groundwork for that. For a prototype that I'm able to do some more prototyping and testing of my puzzle game development, puzzle game design. Yeah, this is the game development of the puzzle game design. Okay, first a quick recap on the design itself, so that we're all on the same page, and also that I'm on the same page. I had to watch my own stream the other day to remember or recall the most of the things that I came up with, because it was a bit confusing even to myself. And I think the fun aspect of doing puzzle game design is to figure out in the long run not just what the rules are, but what the rules what other rules or modes of play emerge from certain rules. It's a bit hard to verbalize, but essentially what I'm getting to is when you see certain rules, you suddenly see certain patterns of how you play a certain game or how you start to solve certain puzzles. And Commander Stitch redeemed some unicorn flakes on the channel. Thank you so much. Things like this, woot woot, for all the things. Yeah, this is what you can do with the unicorn flakes, the channel points here. So again, congratulations for collecting over 4,000. Please let me know if your power level exceeds 9,000. I've heard it's a thing. Right, projects. Projects, game dev 2021, tile game 2021. I don't have a name for the game so far, but I have here the concept of the tile game. So, essentially, the rules that I've come up with the help of all of you who were there the last time are as follows. You have this grid-based or tile-based grid, and you got blue tiles and orange tiles. And the blue tiles are clues once you open them, and the orange tiles are resources. The resources are numbers, and they can either be positive or negative. So when you open something with a -2, these are your resources there on top. So it means when you open something on a -2, you lose 2 of those. I called them blobbles the last time. And also opening a clue also uses up 1 of your resources. So in the end, of course, you don't want to run out of resources because it's game over. But you can't open just a resource willy-nilly, if that's the correct term, or is it nilly-willy? I always say it the other way around. So you need to first open clues. So only with a clue you are able to open up a resource field. And the clues look like this. And there are different kinds of clues. There is a number over another number, as in this case, or there is a number next to another number. And then there is one that doesn't show up in this field here, where it's not horizontally or vertically, but actually it's where this bar that separates the numbers is diagonally, which actually means it could be either one over the other or either one next to the other. Okay, so what do those numbers mean then? And let me undo this quickly. Right. So essentially those clues refer to which the resources that can be found next to it. So this 1/3 means there is a 1 and the 3 is below this clue here. In this case, they already have been opened. But you don't know which one is a plus and which one is a minus. You only know that if one is a plus, the other is a minus, and the other way around. But the problem is to open a clue. To open a resource field, you have to tell the game which one or which clue pertains, or from which clue you want to open this field. Okay, I said it a bit wrong here, but for example, if I want to open now here the 3 down there, I use this tile here and drag and click it, or click and drag it to this field there, and then this one pops open. But the thing is, on the other end of this clue, this field here gets locked, so you can't obtain the resource that is on this field. It sounds a little bit complicated, but the cool thing about this is that of course you want to maximize your resources. So you want to avoid to open something that is a minus. And sometimes you can do this by just spending points or spending your blobbles, spending resources in opening other clues, and then infer, okay, so this is, if this is a -1, and I open it from this clue, then this I can obtain this +4 because this won't be locked, because when I open this field here from this clue, then the tile on the other side gets locked. It might sound confusing. I just realized that it might sound confusing. When I was coming up with it, it was very logical in a sense, but I hope you could follow along. So, right. Oh my god, I just noticed that. Hi, I've been talking for 5 minutes now explaining my design and not being able to observe the chat that people were shouting at me, please share your freaking screen, you idiot. We can't follow along. Okay, let me try this again. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But yeah, cheers first some coffee, and then I will do this again. You know what? I was a bit worried that you wouldn't be able to see my mouse pointer, and so I was making this kind of movements, but you weren't able to see anything on my screen anyway. Apologies again. I'm really I'm really sorry for this. It's the usual with me. I'm getting old. I think I'm getting old. Okay, let's try this again. And unicorn, says Vernified. Cheers. Cheers to the unicorns. Right. Okay, so let me start over. This is a halfway solved puzzle field. The entire game is a tile-based grid, a grid-based tile. No, a grid with tile. It's a grid of tiles, right? And the tiles are either blue ones or orange ones. These haven't been opened yet; they are still hidden. The blue ones are clues, and the orange one are resources. You use resources are here with these blobbles that you have on top. So I call them blobbles. So opening, you want to maximize your resources, and on one field there on the right, the clues are blue and the resources are orange. And the clues give hints at where you can find what resource. It's just numbers, essentially. If you find a +2, it adds 2 blobbles to your resources. Opening a clue costs 1 of your blobbles of 1 of your resources. But the thing is, a resource could either be plus or minus. And the clues only tell you where, roughly tell you, sometimes they don't quite tell you where exactly a certain number is. So you have to infer if it's a negative or a positive resource. Right. So, let me go in here and try this again here. So if I spend 1 of my blobbles here and open up this field here, which is a clue, and it says it's 1/3, which means there is a 1 up here and a 3 down here. In this case here, it already has been opened, but we only know that, okay, there is a 1 and there is a 3, but we don't know if it's a +1 or a -1. And the thing is, when you open on a clue one side, the other gets locked. So essentially you want to open the one that is a plus, that grants you resources and not costs you resources. And the thing is, like I said, to infer from opening other clues and doing tests and be able to infer which one will actually be a positive resource. You got 3 different kinds of clues. This one here where there is number over another number, which means it's a horizontal, a vertical clue. Then of course there's the horizontal equivalent where it's 1 next to 4. So this is a 1 and this is a 4. So it pertains to this one. And then we also got one where that doesn't show up, where it's diagonal, where it's 1 diagonal to 4, which means it could be either a horizontal or a vertical clue. We don't know yet. So just to throw the players a little bit off their feet. So to indicate which one I want to open, because of course the game needs to know which other side of which other clue it needs to be able to lock. For now, it's you just click and drag the clue onto the field that you want to open. For example, in this case here, I would have clicked and dragged this one down to here, which opens up this field, which is a +3. but it locks the other field on the other side. So you can't obtain those resources unless you have obtained them so far from a different side. For example, here, where we open maybe this one and says 1 next to 4, we know there is a 1 and there is a 4, but at this point we didn't know whether it was a +1 or a -1. But we invested another clue to open up this, another resource, one of those bubbles here, to open up this field. And this one said 1/3. So now, if this is a -1, we could still open this +4, unless, of course, if we use this clue to open this field. So if I use that clue to open that field and unlock it, and it says it's a -1, okay, I take a hit. -1, but now I can use this field because I know for sure that this is a +4. So I drag this over, +4, it locks this field, which is, we already harvested it in a sense, so it doesn't matter. And this is essentially how you play the game. So I hope this made a bit more sense now that you could follow along visually. And right, Lady Miss Liv says, Joshua McLean uses timers when he plays game jams, so to spend no more than X time per game to be fair. He has an alarm that people can use to remind him because he often forgets the timer. Okay, so I'm not the only one, but I mean, this happened way too often with me, that I was showing people something amazing happening on my screen without sharing my screen. So I'm rather possessive of my screen. I don't want to share it. And Reproj 2000 is there and just says zap, and I say, yeah, what's up with you? Zap, sorry. Just saying, an alarm might be an idea where we're all human. So an alarm to constantly check the chat, you mean? Or just something that I know that I should double check everything. So it sounds interesting, but a bit randomy. So you should guess the right cell. Exactly. It could be a bit randomy, right? And also a bit over designed and complicated. And so I thought I tried to get this into code, and just with the basic rules hooked up, nothing optimized, nothing polished. Bad, Phil, don't polish. Just to see whether it's really fun or where things really become annoying, or as soon as I just want to speed up the process of giving myself those challenges and then just solving them, adhering to the rules, and then realizing, yeah, I'm always doing the same thing and it's not really fun, so that I can go back and at least take out something that's hindering the fun, essentially. So again, my plan for today is to code up a prototype that I have this kind of field there and have different sorts of tiles that I can or could open. And I don't think that I get to the rule implementation because this level generation process might already be taking up a lot of time. But at least this is the plan for now. And let's see the chat. No, like in Jay Kosh's stream, if we type /timer, it actually says on John's end, timer Josh, so he knows someone wants to, in this case, start a timer. This says it's actually Lilo recorded saying it. Okay, timer Josh. So maybe then I should also have some sound that I can hear, because all I have is to make sure, I'm just monitoring that there are some noises coming out of my boxes, of my speakers, that I know that there's still some audio playing. By the way, I hope the background music is not too loud, because with the last stream, when I watched the stream, I thought, oh my god, it's much too loud. Okay, I need something that says Phil, or something that sets my screen blinking, or anything that someone gets my attention, right? So yeah, I will look into this, that the chat can get my attention when I'm just going off across a big canyon and I'm still coyote time in the air. I don't know that I don't have anything underneath me now, so that the chat reminds me that I should look down. Cool. But there should be some cooldowns, I guess, otherwise. Exactly, yeah. I mean, once a minute, that people remind me once a minute, I think this would work. It should be a blue screen sound, or Phil, or how about this? Hey, Charlie, wake up, Charlie. Does anyone still remember where this is from? Right. Cool. So let's head over to Game Maker Studio 2 and get this thing coded up. Hey, listen. Yeah, no kidding. The my wife's message tone is, hey, listen. And when she had it in her purse and someone at work would say, oh my God, do you have a hidden child in there? Because all they would hear is, and maybe this is a bit creepy. So I'm not using the new version right now. Thank you very much, Game Maker, but make beautiful games easily. So I will take you up on that. Right, so I start a new project because I'm super pro. I started here in the Game Maker language because apparently I think that I know what I'm doing. And where is my projects? There we go, projects, Game Dev 2021, Game Maker, Tile Game. I don't have a name for it, I just call it Tile Game version 01. And here we go. So first thing that I'm going to do is just to make a very simple setup that I know that I have a room that just initializes stuff and then goes to the prototyping room. I still want to strangle Navi, says Lady Misleaf, and I think we all do. I think we all do. A random idea, you can add a hint on rows and columns, like the number of pluses in the row, so you can make an informed guess. Oh, this sounds interesting. So a little bit like with Picross. Okay, this could work. This could work. The one thing is, the other thing that I didn't mention is that I want to have it roll over at the sides. So maybe I must restrict players to just scroll the thing around how they please, because otherwise also the clues have to update, and when they update, you could easily infer where the pluses and where the minuses are. Maybe this is where the fun could be. Yeah, I won't get into this today, but I like the idea. I really like the idea. This is very inspiring. This got some gears grinding there. Cool. Or maybe have it cost a blob, or the easy hard mode, right? Crazy Cucumber says, are you doing 3D development as well? Yes, but not today. Not today. Right now I'm just starting up with a tile grid completely from scratch. So bye if you were interested in that. So I don't think that I will be getting into 3D stuff soon with this. The big plans, provided this game has something more to it, where I think I will want to pursue it a bit further. The plans are, I do the prototyping in Game Maker, and when I have something where I can see, yeah, this is fun, this is serious, then I will go over to Unity and do the tiles maybe in 3D or something, make it look really nice, because I like to make things look really nice. So yeah, for now, prototyping is Game Maker, because I know my way around Game Maker, and I really, really like Game Maker. This is how I started with, really, so yeah, there we are. So okay, I make a first room that's just called init. This is how I always do my things, and I make a new object. That's also just to initialize things, and I call this control, alright, CTRL. This is not a T, CTRL init. So this is what I've arrived at, and the next room that I have is actually, I create a room. The next room is rm_game for now, so that when I know that everything, I initialize everything that I should need for the game, for the prototype, and once everything is initialized, it bumps me to the next room, which is game. So first I want to set up my room that it looks or has at least the properties of the viewport of the final game. Yeah, just something that looks nice. So I always use viewports, and I say, yeah, the game is 1920 by 1080, but the viewport is just 1280 by 720, so that it's not always full screen when I run the game. And the other thing is that I want my game to run at 60 FPS. But I've forgotten where to set this in the latest Game Maker. Room physics, was it there? Probably not, but this could be related to something. Yeah, oh, I wanted to do this in the init, of course. Oh, wrong one. Okay, 1920 by, no, this was not 20, 1080. and 1280 by 720. Right. Unity has easy to use tools to make screen look good. Yes, this is exactly. This is why I don't want to use Unity, because I will start polishing as soon as I can. And the chat, I forgot something there. Cucumber says, yeah, I meant in general. Yeah, in general, I sometimes do 3D stuff. Yes, I do. Image post-production sucks in GameMaker. Yeah, this is why I'll use Photoshop to make the sprites look nice when they are in GameMaker, and not really tinker too much with shaders or anything like that. And yeah, Lady Miss Liv says he's just testing the mechanics. Right. It will launch and make millions. Yeah, maybe we should do this in VR, but we all know that you can't make millions in VR unless you're Valve and run your own hardware, probably. And of course I will develop a dance mat with the grid. This is why it's grid based, that we can all jump around and do some Dance Revolution / Sudoku games. Right, so this is my initial room, and in this initial room I just drop my game object here, which is just nothing because it doesn't have an icon, but it doesn't need a sprite or anything, because all it needs is a create event where the game gets initialized. And I realize now I've changed my screen resolution to full HD. Usually I run this at 4K at UHD. So this is why pretty much everything is massive now, but I hope you can read along quite nicely, but I feel already a little bit, it feels cramped already on my screen. But never mind. So room, go to next. So once this is done, we should be in our game room, and just to make sure that I am in fact in my game room, I just change here the color to this medium gray here, and when I run the game, it should start on the init room and should put me to the game room. And of course it does not. It doesn't do this. Why doesn't it do this? Okay, room, this is the control room, go to next. My god, I have one line of code and already need to show debug. No, this was debug message. So this debug, you should not see me. Because when you can see this debug message, then it didn't go to the next room, presumably. Hi there, save. So let's have a look there at the console. So, hi there, and you should not see me. Okay, so this is not good. Already I can't get to my game room. Why can't I get to the game room? So this instance there, oh, maybe, of course, now it goes to the next room twice. You know what, this control object here in the create room, I will say instance destroy, so that it destroys itself after it has initialized everything. And you know what, let's say not room go to next, but room go to, and we say, then give it the number of the room and try that. Still doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? My god, I hate this so much. This is programming. Okay, but I found at least where I can set the room speed. So I want my room at frames per second. The animation speed is 60 frames per... Am I doing this correctly? This doesn't feel... The animation speed should be something different, right? Because I want to run this at 60 FPS, because we're all pro gamers, and anything less than 60 FPS is not enough. Never mind, I really want to see it. Maybe I just don't see it. Maybe this horrible fuchsia color will help. Fernify says, is this JavaScript or what? No, it's a GML, it's the game maker language. So it's object based as much as the first Doom is a 3D game. It is not quite, but it kinda is, but you don't have to think of it as a object oriented language. So yeah, it's somewhere in between. Right, as Mr. Julius said, thank you. So again, oh my god, I'm really off to a bad start here. So this, at least it gets initialized there. And then it should be in room game. You know what, I just make I create I create a new sprite. Maybe just it's just that the background doesn't show. So I just create a new sprite. And do a beautiful green wiggle and just make sure that it shows up in room games. So make instance layer, tile layer, no path layer, no assets layer. There we go. And drop my beautiful, horrible little sprite on there. I don't think that it will show, but maybe that was the problem. No, of course it won't show. Why? Why doesn't it show? So I got here my only instance that I have here in the first room. And this is the control init. And control init says on its create event, go to the next room and destroy yourself. Maybe it should make it persistent. Maybe that was the problem. It wasn't. Why is this not working? Why is this not working? But you know what, at least that I know that I'm still here in the init room. Let me drop the sprite here also in the init room. Then at least we know we're still in the init room. We're neither, so the sprite also doesn't show. So maybe this is a problem with me, but not with game. Maybe... I forgot to click enable viewports and the first viewport should be visible. And if I do this also here in room game, then also the first viewport should be visible. So we were right all along, it just didn't view. There we go. Okay. So I can get rid of this horrible wiggle there. Right. So I don't need to have this asset or this asset layer there, and in the instance I can resize this down. Yeah, okay, so try to do it in the step event. I know it's not the perfect solution, but yeah, again, it wasn't the step event because usually I do this in the creation event. But yeah, in the end, it worked. Save. Save. We coded our thing. Right. Okay. So yeah, let's make a new sprite just for the tile. And I create add existing, no create group, no new. Create, there we go, create new sprite. And 64 by 64 pixels, yeah, should be good. And I create a sprite and just make this one orange. First one orange, or give it a little outline so that I know where the boundaries are. And I call this, it's sprite 1. And I call this SPR tile. What was orange? This was a resource. Tile resource, and I duplicate this one here and make it tile resource, tile clue. So that I just make a grid with the tiles that are either clues, and one is, so one is a clue and every other is a resource and so on. So this is just the tile background, and then I have a tile foreground. So when you flip the tiles over essentially, or remove the tiles, this was the sprite duplicate. I call this tile open. Just that I have some resources, but the next thing is straight to erase. So good. Okay, so we got our 3 sprites. I can thankfully change here the background to something like, this medium gray, this looks prototypey, right? This looks prototypey. But the room size, I just realized the room is not big enough. So the room size should be also 1920 by 1080. Play, and everything should compile, of course, but yeah, just to make sure. Right, cool. Okay, so the chat says, it's almost done. Difficult part is already behind us. Exactly. Did I say unicorn? Because December Day games reminded me that I should have a sip of water. Beautiful. Okay, so the next thing is data structures. So I create a new object. I'm a big fan of singletons. Thank you, Game Maker, for ingraining this into my brain. I just made a new script. This is not what I wanted. Maybe I could use scripts later on, but for me, I use game objects. No, objects. There we go. And I call this control board. Essentially this, controls the game board. And at least for prototyping, this is where I think all the things happen. Then make a new object that says just control, or it's not a control, it's obj tile. And a tile could be a clue or a resource. I'm not quite sure if I should, maybe those get inherited from the tile object, but then again, might be using or might be changing a lot of code. Right now, just leave it a tile. Right, so the board. The first thing that, okay, so the board should, this board object should run in, why do I have two instance layers? Right, so the board object is just an invisible object essentially that is here as soon as we switch over to the room game. Then of course this controlled board object becomes active. So then it would run its first step. It would first run its creation event and then its first step. So I think there in the creation event we can start creating our data structures that we need for this board. And to be able to at least see something, let's go here to the object tile, and I already give it this tile sprite here. Just want to make sure where my origin is. Okay, so the origin of each tile is there on the upper left. This is the 0, so this is cool. Because I really want to be able to have the game draw something as soon as possible. Right. I reminded Mr. Julius that it's tea time. Of course, you're in England. It's tea time. I think I will go indulge in chocolate soy milk because chocolate, be right back. Oh my god, chocolate milk. So enjoy your chocolate milk, Lady Mistleaf. May I ask an off-topic question? Of course, go ahead, December Days Games. And I just retain the right to maybe not answer it if it's too off-topic. Phil, I know that what is going on. Lack of coffee in your blood veins limits your programming god powers. Apparently, I just had 2 cups of coffee today. It's just nothing. This was a problem. Okay, so just to have something that we can work with, I create a new create event. And the first thing that I do is let's create some variables. So board tiles width, let's say 8 by 8 tiles, or let's make it 6 by 6, which is not as big. So board tiles width and height is 6 by 6, and let's say we create a new board or array board. How do I create a new array? Array? I forgot. It's been quite a while since I last used Game Maker. It's been since the last Ludum Dare, so yeah. Let me find my, there we go, my Firefox window. HTML, right? Nope. There we go. just need to scale it. Good. Okay, so introduction. No. I want array. I forgot how arrays work, and it won't tell me how arrays work. Objects and instances. Yes. This is new there. Maybe there I can find it. Array, argument. Oh my god, I don't like this new manual. I like the old one better because I could find things there. Can I search for something? Array, there it should be. Arrays, page outlining arrays. There we go. Come on, show me the page outlining arrays. There we go. One-dimensional arrays. I think I'm good with just a one-dimensional array. In Game Maker you have also different data structures, for example lists, and even have a grid. I mean, a grid would be a good solution for this tile-based grid, but personally I've I've been so much more accustomed to using arrays essentially, because I can do this in a one-dimensional array without problems. And as soon as I start getting into problems, I might switch over to one of the inbuilt data structures, because I probably won't be using any of the advantages that you have with a grid data structure. For example, you could, in a data structure such as grid, you could say circle in a grid, and it would outline the cells that are in a circle from a certain grid cell, which probably I won't be needing, but again, maybe, who knows. But probably then again, I'll be rolling my own implementation. Right, I completely forgot to read what essentially, there we go, was. So a new array is var, well, is an array. Okay, so this is how you do it. Array board equals and board tiles width times board tiles height. Or you know what, since we need this anyway, tiles count equals board tiles width times board tiles height, because we probably might need this quite often. So tiles count. Cool. So this is in the create event. And what is wrong here? Where I've used only once. Yeah, I'm still in the programming stage. Don't bug me. Not a 2D array, says Fernify. No, I don't actually need 2D arrays, because to me, I mean, I'm storing only one struct per tile anyway, so I'm good with a one-dimensional array. I mean, it's just one big string, but we already know that the width, maybe this is array stride, is board tiles. Board tiles width. This is something that I usually use for my arrays, that I just know how wide the stride is, and then I'm good. But again, yeah, you could also do this with a two-dimensional array. Just for me, I'm much more. I'm happier with a one-dimensional array. Lady Miss Liv says array equals. Yeah, thank you. Tasty. That I'm talking about. Good. So you have a nice cup of tea. I have my nice cup of unicorn coffee. Water. Coffee. My God. You know what? This is some damn good coffee.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
Right. Then we just fill the array with tile objects. So for I equals 0, I is less than tiles count I plus plus. I think this is how you do force. Yes, this is how you do force. Okay, let's create a variable that we just call instance equals create, or was it object create? Object or instance? Instance create. This is instance create at the depth. The depth is right. I mean, X and Y. You know what? Since we know that this is, we could declare this here before. Since we know that our tile size is 64 by 64, I could also do this programmatically, but for right now, I mean, this is just a prototype. I know that it's 64. So tile width is 64 and tile height is also 64. So there I say current x equals 0 and current y equals 0, and then we just add stuff. So after we're done, we just say current x plus tile width, and once we're done with one row of tiles and to the next row of tiles, then we just add the tile height, just that it displays at the correct position. So we say current x, and for the y we say current y. The depth is 0 and the object is object tile. Cool. So then we just make sure that if the count exceeds the number of tiles width, Then after 6 tiles, we increase the tile, the current Y value. So, I mean, we could use a modulo. You know what? This is something that we could do. If I mod 6 equals 0, then current Y equals tile height. Right. In principle, this is how it should work, right? Did I do something wrong? Let's see something in the chat. How much more are you planning on streaming? Just to organize my time, says Louise L or 83. I don't know, but I probably will stream for an hour or so. Again, I don't know how far I will get today, but I just want to get something on the screen and then start adding structs and fleshing things out, I hope. Let's fill the array. Let's fill the array. Sorry, I have no idea what this means. But yeah, okay, there we go. Forgot about what it should be. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The current Y is floor I divided by 6. Yeah, of course, this makes sense. This is much better than this solution. So it's the floor. What did you say? Current Y is... This makes much more sense. Current Y is the floor of, what do we have here? I divided by board tiles width, right? Thank you. Yeah, this makes sense. Cool. Phil, is your music available to patrons only? Which track are you talking about? This one that's playing right now? Which one was it? Oh my god. Which one is playing right now? Popstar. Yeah, I mean, yes. Short answer is yes. What track do you need? The tracks that are playing in the background now aren't my best ones, but I thought those are nice to play in the background. And December Days Games was asking about your last LD music. You could download, I mean, since it's a Ludum Dare thing, and you can download the source code, and in the source project there is the music in there. So you, yeah, have fun with that. Sorry, I completely, please read my question above. Sorry, yeah. What is all the music in your latest Ludum Dare video, like one specific track? Usually, I mean, I got all the post-mortem music on Bandcamp. And there are some, of course, sometimes I use tracks from the game, also my post-mortems, and then they also show up on this huge, big 100-track long album there on Bandcamp. But if you're looking into a certain track of one of my games, again, since for Ludum Dare they're all open source, so you can just go to the Ludum Dare page and get the project file, and somewhere in there is even the source file for the music. So yeah, you can get them from there. Last LD post-mortem, I mean, right, current Y equals Y board tiles times tile width. You know what, Inken Imbula, I will do the good old I will do the good old Stack Overflow and just copy and paste it. Thank you. Thank you. I will just eat this one, and this is board or the tile width. Yeah, exactly. This is beautiful. And you know what? The only thing that we need to do now is to draw this thing, but we don't need to draw it because once we created this... Okay, I'm just compiling it and it will show up magically as we want it. Beautiful, beautiful, because I forgot to reset, of course, the X. So it just kept going. So of course, after this, we want the X to go back to 0 or to the starting point. Beautiful. So current X, says Inken Imbula. So you mean not current Y but current X. And okay, this is I, the board times width times the tile width. Right. Yeah, but we still need the floor thing, right, for Y. So okay, let's try this without thinking it through. And look at this, almost there, almost there. What's wrong here is floor I times, I mean it works, but the Y doesn't advance by the board tiles, but only by, we need to add it times the tile height. I think this is what we're missing here. Stop the current project from running. Yes, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is Does this work again? I have audio levels. It works again. Beautiful. We will never know when my USB is crapping out again. Beautiful. Okay, so what is going on here? Well, it's the typical classical thing that arrays start with 0. So maybe we should also start counting at 0. Or probably, maybe we should try this +1. And then do the modulo. Maybe this works. Yeah, of course not. I have not been thinking this through. I've not been thinking this through. So if it's less or equal to the tiles count, right? Yeah, this also works. Yeah, thank you, Fernify. Exactly, that this was it. Usually I forget sometimes when I start with 1, then it's just this. But the good thing about arrays is they will always complain in a very loud way if they run out of or if you try to index something that is not in the memory. Cool. Okay, so essentially we're pretty much done. The other thing is maybe I don't want to have this just in the corner there. This is not too cool. So I say just starting eggs. Starting eggs. Starting x is 200 and starting y is also 200. Let's try this. So current x is starting x, current y is starting y, and current y is floor but times plus. Okay, so maybe we can't do this now in one line, because of course then it will jump straight to the beginning, and yeah, we just have one tile, and then this formula takes over. So floor times tile h plus starting x, right? And the same thing here, plus starting y. Okay, this looks good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is also good. What is here? Yep, 65 pieces. Fernify says, build us no unicorn. Cheers. December days is gone. Thank you so much for dropping by and have fun in the snow. And we have a mistake. 65 pieces. Looks like a mistake, says Incan Imbula. It will add 65 pieces. Exactly. Again, this is why I use it like this. So you know what? Maybe when I start here with I is 1, does this work then? Of course, now then I think, you know what? Let's do the count. Let's do the count, and once we're done, let's say show message I. Then we will know for sure what number I is, and it's 37. Why is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Why is it 37 now all of a sudden? 6 times 6 is 36. But now we get 37. Of course, we start with 1 and yeah, we already got a problem here. You instantiate before setting the values on the first element. Of course. And this is, once I set the first element, then it draws on top of it. So we still got 37, right, and this is now what it looks like. So we do this. And now it should be correct. 36, and it looks good. Thank you. My God, this is peer programming at its best, at least for me. For you, it must be at its worst. Just pulling your hair out as you watch me doing arrays. And I said before, I've been doing arrays for years now, and yeah, getting it really right, the number that you want to have is good. So you instantiate before setting the first element, says H. Mortensen 2907, and I thank you so much, H. Mortensen. Exactly, that was the problem. Cool. So this wasn't too bad. Right now I got a field of tiles. Cool. But actually maybe what I would need for the tiles is the next thing is that the tiles should know their neighbors. And this is something that's a bit more complicated because I can only do this after I did the array. So maybe what the array will store, I mean right now it's this instance. When you create an instance, it will return the instance ID. So the array just holds the references to the individual instances, which is actually what we want. But so far the board control doesn't know anything about what tile or what kind of tile there is. So I'm just saving this right now, and right, it's practice for everyone, says Lady Miss Sleep. Yeah, this is good. So I'm not the only one getting basic things wrong. At least I would hope so. AKA Ink D, says H. Mortensen. So right. Okay. So what I want to do is now that each tile, I mean, we got two different kinds of tiles. We got resource tiles and clue tiles. So first, once we set up this array, then I will say, okay, now that we got this array with every other tile, we want to make it a resource tile. And we will tell this just the instance that sits underneath there. So we got the reference to the instance, and then we will loop over this again, or well, we don't loop over it. We just go through the array and skip every other element and say, you are a resource tile. Of course, I could do this here when I'm going through the array for the first time, but again, maybe this will change, or the layout of the board might change, or where I use tiles, or where I want resources, and where I want to use clues. So it's just easier to see, or easier to change, or it's not easier to change. I mean, it's the same effort. For me, it's just better that I see, okay, first, this is just the creation of the board. Next, this is just where all the clues go. Next, this is where all the resources go, and so on. So this is not clues, this is resources. So, cool. And for that, to know that a tile can be either a resource or a clue, or maybe something else, I need to go into the tile object and set some, in the create event, I need to set some fields, essentially. So one thing that I do here is I make a new enum, and I call this tile type. And then we got the tile type of a clue, resource, and other. Okay, I can't use other because it's already a keyword. So I call it underscore last, or because the last one, then I know when I'm at last in the enum that this is the last number in the enum there. So yeah. Okay, so tile type, cool. So I say sprite equals sprite tile open. Or you know what, the sprite is already, I use a different sprite if it's a clue or a resource. So I just say sprite resource equals sprite tile resource, and the sprite for clue equals sprite tile clue, of course. There we go. And sprite open is sprite tile open, and current sprite or just sprite equals, yeah, depending on what type it is, but we will set there just I would say just some sprite there, and I will say the sprite is, yeah, just sprite open. And then when this now we need to know, or I need to make sure that I get the execution order right. So when I create a tile, when I instantiate something here, what it does, when I'm running this line of code, it will instantiate a tile and run its create event. So all the tiles will have set sprite to open, and then when I run over it again, maybe in the second pass there, then already the create event will have been run. So whatever changes there won't change what is here in this create event. And because I know this, and this is common with Game Maker, what I usually do is with pretty much anything that I know that will be changed later on, I say a do init equals true. And this is something that when I add a step event, there is also begin step and an end step, but I usually just use the step event. And the first thing is if do init, do something, and then do init equals false. Because at this point I know this will only run once, but this is also for me a good way to pretty much reset something. The downside is that I need, of course, to copy this over into this step event when I want to reset something. But here at this point, for example, the type is tile type, let's say just last here, or undefined. Let's call this undefined. So again, to reiterate, so once this gets created, it will have its type variable set to undefined. And when I go over this one here, I can already change here the type, but still the first step event won't have been run on this instance here. So essentially I'm injecting something here that happens after the create event and before the first step event, because now I can say, for example, type equals type resource, and here in the first step event I can switch now on type, and this is exactly what I want to do. Type, too many brackets, so case tile type is clue, then we say sprite equals sprite clue break, and if the case the type is of a resource, then the sprite is sprite, of course, resource, and default, just to make sure that there is some sort of sprite, I will just say it's sprite open. Maybe I want to have a fuchsia colored tile, just that I know when something is undefined that it's blinking or is otherwise making trying to get my attention. And of course now here in the draw event I need also to draw the sprite itself, because right now it's just using the inbuilt methods, but I want to draw sprite, and the sprite is of course the sprite variable that I have, but the sub image is the image index. And what else does it want? Of course the x and the y, and for those I use the inbuilt variables. X and Y. Safe. Cool. Okay. Fernify says, is a step event like update in Unity, or when is it triggered? And Lady Misliv says, oh dear, let me try again for the loop. If I modulus 2 is equal to 0, create clue, else create resource. Essentially, yeah, this is if I want to do it in just this one loop. And yeah, to get to Fernify's question, is the update event in Unity, or when is it triggered? With Unity, the update event, I think, is triggered. You can't, at least to me, I don't know quite when the update event is triggered for certain instances. In this case, here in the create event of the control for the board, this is a singleton for the entire board. I create new instances. And then of those instances, the moment they are created, their create event shoots. But we are still here in the create event of this control board. So once the create event of the board is done, then the first update event will happen in the first instance. But I don't think you can be sure which instance will first have its create event, its step event. So essentially, yes, step is kind of like the update event, because with each step it does it runs, right? And usually that I just know in what order something runs. I put everything in the step event and usually use a lot of if flags. So if do movement, then run this block, because sometimes I want to say, for example, if a cutscene is playing and I don't want the player to allow movement, then I just say movement equals false, and a certain block in the step event won't be run. But I always know, for example, that movement comes after before collisions or so. And in Unity, update is like every frame. And yeah, in this case, the step event is also with every frame. But also in Unity, you got an early update, right? And this is also, you can have here begin step and then end step. So something that always happens before the step event shoots, and so on. And you, of course, have a lot of different events, for example, mouse pressed, left down, and so on. But again, to me, I don't like to use those kind of events. For one thing is that it's a bit annoying if you have hundreds of, or well, even dozens of events there. I usually do this in the step event. In the step event, I check if a mouse button is pressed. Otherwise, when a mouse button is pressed, I feel that it works like an interrupt, because you don't know where in your step event you currently are when the mouse button is pressed and the code for mouse is pressed runs. So again, to me, this might be a little bit slower. In execution, maybe you're lagging behind one frame or something, but at least I know in what order something gets run. Okay, right, so we are in the step event, and all we did in the step event was switch on the type. And once the type is defined, this do init won't run ever again. So essentially this just runs the very first time this step event is called, or unless I say do init equals true again, then of course it will initialize itself. And like I said, I do this usually with most of my objects that I can upon creation. I can already assign certain fields there that differ from the usual fields that are the generic construction there, and then switch on or create the object differently. What I could have also done was just create an object that's sprite tile clue, an object for sprite tile open, and create different objects. But right now I've settled for, yeah, I just have one object tile, and upon creation it decides itself which tile it is, because I like the idea of having objects manage itself. Good, I hope this makes sense. Cool. Right, so here again I'm just doing the resources, and I'm starting here again at the tile count, and I say if where were we? I modulo of 2, was this 2 every other? Right, yeah, this is 2 equals 0, right? Yes, this makes sense. Then we say in the, you know what, I just created an instance here. I never added it to any array. Nobody told me. Why didn't anyone tell me? Of course, I have here this array board. And of course, array board, I equals instance. There we go. Cool. So I completely forgot. We were just creating instance here on this, and we just forgot about them. At least we never stored them anywhere. So array board I dot type equals tile type clue, and we can use an else, and then it's a resource. So it's not the most elegant way to do this, but it works. And Inkanimbula, sorry, I have to go. Hope next time we'll play the game. Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I also hope create line undefined is a global. Oh, it's of course undefined is a global variable that I can't be using. So I just say it generic. Okay, this one doesn't seem to be. And if default, yeah. Cool. Okay, so essentially now it should draw blue and orange tiles. Okay, this kind of works. It really is, but it's not this checkerboard thing that I was looking for, actually. So yeah, of course this makes sense. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe it only creates this checkerboard if you're not using an if you have to use an odd number, right? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, so this is something to keep in mind, that if the tiles aren't in odd number, if they are evenly spaced, at least horizontally, then we need to do something about this. Never figured that this would be a problem, but apparently it is. So okay, so if it's greater than 2 and plus the row number. Shoot didn't think about it being an even number tiles, right? Oh, shoot! Now I get it. Plus the row number. Right, if I plus the row number, now we need to know which row it is, and we know this by using the modulo of the stride, right? So stride, which is just array stride is the width. So if the I, okay, so we get to the row in which we are by this this is by flooring. Now let me think. So I is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I divide it by array stride, and then if we floor it is the row number, right? So you know what? Debug. Let's debug this, and let's say debug show debug message, and I just say row and hope that it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what does it do? It says, yeah, it looks good. So it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Yeah, this is good. Okay, this is good. So the row actually must be +1 to get the actual rows again, because we're starting here at 0. We got 7 rows. So if I is at 1 and the row is also modulo of 2, it will be 0. So right now we probably get something else entirely. Yeah, I mean, this looks nice, but yeah, because I didn't account for the other thing. So essentially I just say everything is a resource, and then we see if it's on a row. Yeah, it's the same thing, but because I don't need an else, right? So if it's on a row, cool. So Coppercraft already wrote in the chat. X, you know what? I will paste this so that you can see it and don't have to pinch from the chat because it already vanished. This is what Coppercraft said. The X is I modulo Y P. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't get it. Right. So this is for every other thing, and here is also if the row equals 1. Otherwise, oh my god, this is of course else if we just have this without the row, then we can like so. Then we also say that it is like this. I think this is the thing. I'm saying thing too much. Look at this. Was it just an else? Was it just an else? Oh, of course you can't specify anything when you have an else. Need to pre-compute X and Y, and that's the only way I know how it works for odd and even width. What Lady Misleaf says, row plus I, row plus I, row plus I, row plus I. That's good. So let's just delete this here. And I'm missing a bracket because I always do. Look, this looks like Lisp already. Beautiful. No, I deleted the wrong thing, right? So if row plus I shouldn't have deleted everything, right? So we also do this. So if I equals 2, then modulo 2 equals 0, then we do this. I really should take the time to think this through. Right now I'm just randomly trying things out and hoping maybe to get lucky. You have an extra bracket in your if statement. Yeah, thank you. At least the compiler will shout it at me anyway. Okay, my god, this, I mean, we're here in the territory of basic math problems, right? Okay, you know what, I really should try to think this through. So, if I is modulo of 2 equals 0, so every other thing here. But if the row and if the row is every other row is equal 0, and then everything is no, wait. Then right, else if the row is here, I can't do this in one line. I can't do this in one line now. And if I plus 1, could this work? Or am I thinking things wrong? Yeah, I'm probably thinking things wrong. Wait, I almost got it. So here, this is for every even row, and this is for every, no, this is for every odd row, and this is for every even row. And for every even row, we want each other, this would be so much easier if I just switch this around here. Okay, again, I'm really not sure if this could work, or if I completely was overthinking things here. And look at this, it works. Look at this, it's beautiful. So let's try and see how airtight this is. I use here now even values. And now I messed up the even values. Okay, but so and tile what was this? Board tiles width modulo 2 equals 0. Am I missing? No. Okay, good. So, okay, let's see what Coppercraft wrote. Oh my god. I mean, just this very simple checkerboard thing is giving me so much grief right now. As if row equals no, and put 0 tiles width is not 0, right? This was the other way around. No. Okay, fair enough. I says, shouldn't this just work if resource else clue? I'm completely overthinking this, probably. I'm completely overthinking this. Or it's not so much that I'm overthinking, is I want to do this as elegantly as possible, and right now I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this. So essentially, all I want to do is everything is a resource. We get to current row. This also works. Good. So if I is even, then it must be a clue. Unless the row, maybe I should do this the other way around. So first we look at which row we are in. Okay, I just moved this down. Okay, so I typed this out. So first, are the columns even numbered? Because if they are, then we don't have to do this entire thing and just, yeah. So again, if board tiles width are even, then we do as it were before. Otherwise, they aren't even, and we need to do this other thing here, right? So let's try this here and just see if okay, of course I can take this out now. Yeah. So okay, I started in the debugging mode, but whatever. Yeah, sure. So okay, so first the columns should not be even for this test. So I just say 7. Because otherwise everything would be a resource. Okay, this is good. This looks good. Otherwise, we can just say every other thing is a clue, right? So let's try 6 again. No, 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 this does not work again. Was it if it's odd? No. No. Again, now I'm not even thinking. I'm just trying things out and see if it magically solves my problem. So okay, if the board tiles are even, then every other tile is a clue. I take this one here and say no. Same, essentially it does the same thing. So why does it do that? It worked before, right? So okay, again, board tiles W. So if the columns are even numbered. Otherwise, odd number of columns, and with the odd number of columns it should work as it were, right? So essentially I just take this one out, and with the odd number it should work. Yeah, this was the even number. Right, odd number works as it is. Good, so I don't need this thing here. This is for the odd number. Good, so for the even number, I think I just need this part. Almost. We're having the same problem again, so that every other row I'm skipping now. So if row else, there again, if I equals 2 is a clue, and this should be it. No, of course not. How could it? Right, then we just need to offset it by 1. If I plus 1. No. If I minus 1? May I please ask you to try this? If row plus 1. Okay. I do this here for the entire thing, right? So that we know that it fires when we're here having a even number. So if, then it is a clue. Magic! Magic! Thank you so much, Lady Mistleaf. A round of applause. Where do I have a round of applause? I don't have a round of applause, but I have
A damn fine cup.
I have a damn fine cup of coffee for you. Thank you. This works, so I can delete this. Beautiful. Okay, let's see if this is airtight. So this was even. Now let's try this with 7. Good. And let's do some hardcore testing. Let's try this with 11. And also let's change here the height, which should be inconsequential, but you never know. Okay, 11 by 11 looks good. 10 by 12. I hate coffee. I'm so sorry. Then have a damn good cup of tea. Sorry. Okay, now let's try. Oh, let's try 1 by 1. And it works. Okay, good. This is good. 2 by 2. Okay, good. Save. This works. And Commander Stitch said, "Drink up, unicorn." Right, thank you. Been teasing you about hate coffee and how you should try tea over a year now. Yeah, I faintly remember someone teasing me about coffee. I usually just fade it out. When someone says that they don't like coffee, I think, how could they not like coffee? I like coffee. Thinking about having more coffee. What did you say? Never mind, coffee. This is how my brain goes. Right. And I like tea, especially if it tastes a lot like coffee. No, joking aside, sometimes I go for a nice cup of a green tea. Or my mom even swears to black tea with a bit of milk and a pinch of sugar. But to me, it's, yeah, when I want milk and sugar, I can have also coffee. Come on, Stitch. I'll just go and get the 64 ounces of water. I've been working on my absolute silly review. Thanks for inspiring me. You're welcome. Cool. Okay, so resources and clues. Distributing resources and clues for now. So I know where is happening what. This is good. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to save it, is now when something is a clue, it should be a plus or minus clue. Again, I'm thinking when I'm creating the field. Right now, this is what I'm thinking. Let me bring up the field again. So what I'm thinking about is for the resource fields, I'm just picking a random number between 1 and 4. Let's say, yeah, 1 and 5, or yeah, a random number between 1 and 4. I'm just rolling a die, and I'm also picking randomly whether it's a plus or a minus. But maybe we could be incredibly unlucky, and we would have a minus, 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 plus, minus, minus, plus, plus, minus, minus. So I want to have the pluses and minus be balanced out. And for this, I would think what I want to do is I'm using not a completely randomness, but I want to use a bag, and with a bag size of 2. So for those who can't follow, is instead of it's like with Tetris nowadays. Instead of giving you randomly 1 out of 7 tetrominos, Tetris blocks, the game essentially just takes all 7 tetrominos, puts them in a bag, shuffles the bag, and then takes out one after the other until there is no tetromino in there anymore, and then takes the 7 again and essentially just randomizes them. So the furthest 2 blocks could be, 2 tetrominos could be a part of each other, would be 1, 2, 1, 4, so it's 14, no, 13, no, 12 other blocks. And using this plus minus thing here, what I could do is just counting up, okay, how many clues do I have? And half of them will be plus and half of them will be minus. And then I will just distribute them. Right? No. You know what the problem is? Right now, with my clues here, it's always on one side is a plus and on the other is a minus. So instead of just randomly assigning resources there, I will just have the resource numbers 1 to 4 randomly, and then when I'm creating the clues, the clue themselves will put the minus and the plus signs in front of them. Does this make sense? Is this feasible? And Lady Miscliff says, so for each clue have 1 plus and 1 minus. Exactly, yeah. So the clues, essentially, once I've done the clues, they should decide where to put something. So the clue, yeah, right. First, random values for the resources, and then I'm going one after the other with the clue. And the clue should look at what is already there. And if it doesn't have a sign, then it will assign to it. And then it goes line by line. And if there is nothing on this side, it will pick the one from the bottom, right? And Lady Miscliff says yes and no. Once your first is put in place, it would determine the rest. Exactly. So then, when I have something here, I mean the clues themselves are just following my first train of thought. So that the clues, when I'm building the clues, they would determine whether something is a plus or a minus. If it already has a clue, then the clue would say, okay, so this is a minus, then naturally the other side must be a plus, for example. And hopefully by going plus and minus, it would essentially fill up the board itself. Wait, it depends. Since some clues are horizontal and some are vertical, it's dependent on those two. Exactly. So the clue is only concerned with whether the clue itself is horizontal or vertical. Right now I'm going this either or. I'm just taking it out of the equation for right now. So the clues can either only be vertical or horizontal, and not like we have here either or. At least for starters, I think this should be the easiest. Or maybe we should just do horizontal clues and see how that goes. Some of the squares might end up not being linked to a clue at all. Exactly. And I think this is the biggest problem, or something that I should keep in mind for debugging. How, or at the end, I should find out if there is a resource that is not referenced by a clue, essentially, and find out in what cases this happens and what to do about it, right? Or which clues to change. Or I could do the Monte Carlo method and just keep randomly generating boards or clues until every resource is covered by chance. Yeah. You know what? The first thing that I do is just randomly assign numbers to the resources. Okay, again, I'm stepping through the very same thing there, and just assigning, in this case, assign resource values. So we go through the board type, and if the board type is of a resource where we currently are, then we say, of course, yeah, we need a field there in the tiles. So we say value equals 0. Right now we just default it to a 0, and so now we can access it from here. So we say if array board item I dot value, and now I can say choose, if I can type it correctly, 1, 2, 3 or 4. This is the very simple game maker method for this. And just to be sure, we want, at least for debugging, we want to have the actual number, the actual value printed. I'm thinking you might want to narrow your number range, says Lady Miscliff. If any number can be negative, a player stumbling on a -4 would lose a hefty amount of clues. This is true. So let's go with just 1, 2, 3 then. I mean, again, this is open to change. Maybe I start the players with like 15 resources and they need to earn 100 or something. I don't know, but maybe, yeah, if the values don't get too large, I think this is easier also to visualize and conceptualize. But if you limit minuses to 2 and 3s or 4s would be automatically positive, so it wouldn't be any better. Yeah, if I want to say, yeah, just 4s are positive, so once you stumble upon a 4, you already know that it must be a positive, and yeah, there is not so much involved there. Right, okay, I want to draw the number of values onto the resource, onto the tiles. So create, so we just say font color is color or a C black for now. Just that I know it, and you know what also would maybe be handy if we know the sprite width and height, that we can draw them in center, or we just use slots where numbers can be drawn. No, this is already making it a bit too complicated. This is just for debugging. So first we draw the sprite, and then we draw text. And the text we draw is, we only draw if value is greater than 0 or not 0, then we draw the text. So then we draw text, and we draw it at x plus 32 because it's wide 64 pixels, and y 32 or just 30 plus 30, and the string is string of value. Right, and this should be it, hopefully. And look at this, it's tiny, it's very tiny. Can't I zoom in? No, I can't zoom in, but it works. It works. I just need to make the font a bit bigger that we can see it better. So I just create a new font then and call it FNT debug for now. And what is a good font? Yeah, just use Arial Black maybe. Arial Black, and those numbers just 22. Yeah, sure, 22. This is good. And Lady Miscliff says, oh, difficulty, bigger grade, more tries, bigger payouts, consequences. Yeah, I think that's with when I'm tweaking which tile or just the amount of resources that you have, or the stakes essentially. I think for difficulty, exactly, this could work very well. Right, tile and set. Yeah, of course, now I need brackets. Draw, set, font, and the font is FNT debug, and of course I forgot to draw set color is text color. What did I call it? Font color, right. Not enter. Good. As you probably have seen, I'm sometimes using semicolons and sometimes not, and GameMaker doesn't enforce them. It's just something that I'm used to when doing Java or C#, but then I'm doing GameMaker and I don't have to have a semicolon at the end of the line, and then I completely forget about it, and yeah, then things are getting much harder the next time when I'm doing proper programming in a proper language. Okay, so 1 and 2, this works, but it's always 1 and 2, and I'm not quite happy with the spacing, so maybe just say 20. And this is better. Maybe let's say 24 and here 18. Just that they are in the middle, roughly. Yeah, this looks better. Maybe say 17. And let's also change the value or the size of the grid. Let's try again. Let's say 8 by 8, not 87. And yes, okay, so good. We got resources there distributed on the field. This is wonderful. I like this very much. But you probably have noticed that it's always the same number. So 2132 is the first line, and when I recompile the game, it will be the same again. 2132, right? So what we need to do, and I do this here in the init of the game, you have to tell GameMaker to actually use a different seed each time you run the game. Again, sometimes this can be handy to always have the same seed, but you don't always want to do this. And this is, again, this is something because it pertains the entire game. I put it in the initialization stage. So how did I do this? I think it was just randomize. Randomize. There we go. Now it should be differently. Numbers should be different for each time around. 1332, right? And oh yeah, there is another thing that I could already try to implement. 2231. At least for now, I could stick it in the board object and I add a new event. It's just a key down event, and others when I'm pressing the escape key. Function keys, where is escape? Space, control, escape, digits, letters, function keys, escape, there we go. If I'm pressing escape, then game exit. Was it game exit or was it game quit? Quit game, game end. Not quite sure how to end the game. Game end, game restart, game end. There we go. It's just easier for when I'm doing escape. Yeah, this works. Fernafire says going to bed now, but we'll definitely catch up the rest on YouTube. That's very interesting. Oh, really? It is just me trying out random stuff there. But thank you so much, and have a good night. And we'll see you on the VOD. And if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome back. Okay, so right now, what do we have now? We have a board that generates tiles. Different kinds of tiles in a checkerboard fashion, and this is the big checkerboard distribution in a checkerboard fashion that I know why it takes this much code for this little thing. So assigning resource values, right? So and now I could try to at least get started with the code for the clues, right? Right now I'm just trying to, just go one after the other and only create, let's say, vertical clues. And for that, you know what would be interesting? That each tile has references to its neighbors. So that I think now that once we know who the neighbors are, we can define whether they are vertical neighbors or horizontal neighbors, or which kind of neighbors we are interested in, and also get a picture of the surrounding tiles. Caveat is this only works if we really keep it at this checkerboard fashion right now, so that each clue has neighbors on all 4 sides. Right. So you know what? I will store this on a per tile basis so that each tile itself has references to its neighbors. And for that, I just create a new enum and say tile direction. No, direction. I just want to make an enum where I just say north, south, east, and west for each one, and I'm just want to find the right term. Tile neighbor. Yeah, let's call it neighbor. North, south, east, west. There we go. And so that I have an array for each tile that just says neighbors, and we store for each neighbor where n equals 0, so that we have 1, 2, 3, yeah, just 4 entries. So neighbors equals an array that says just 3. Right, yeah, this makes sense. So, but tiles themselves can't find out who their neighbors are, because a tile doesn't know anything about the board it sits on. Maybe we should also add a reference to the board control to each tile, that it could message upwards, so to speak. And Lady Misliff says, sorry, my dog demands attention. Yeah, of course, it's all good. It's all good. And say hello to your dog from me, and give it a little belly rub and some what's the thing called, the snout, the borker. I think the borker. Pet it on its borker. Right. I'm trying to follow, but your way of thinking is very different from mine. I'm really sorry. I think this is what happens when I've been coding, more or less self-taught coding. So yeah, I'm really sorry that it's hard for you to follow. Might as well be also how Game Maker instructed me to do it. Right, where was I? Yeah, the tile itself doesn't know anything about other tiles at this point, or the board or anything. So right now I will go back to the board control, where we essentially just created this board of tiles, and this one is holding the array of all the tiles. So naturally this would be a good point to go into and say, yeah, again, go through all the clues now and tell each clue who its neighbors are, essentially. So register register neighbors of a clue. Right, so, okay, so if the type is a clue, this is very important, because otherwise we just skip it. Or let's do it differently, then we don't have to do this whole CPU caching. If the board type is not of type clue, then continue, or break? No, continue. This makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, right, okay, cool. So we are at an value of I, and we have a certain tile. And what we need to find out are the neighbors, provided they're not on the edges, otherwise they will wrap around. I'm catching up on the chat now, and things are escalating there. Oh no, she's shoving spit-covered toys on my lap. Oh, dogs, you gotta love them. Finish the first audio edit pass, says Commander Stitch. Time to lay it out in the first audio master edit. The visuals begin, then music. Sounds like you're doing quite well there, and I'm still trying to find out how to tell a tile who its neighbors are. The neighbors are set width up and width down, minus left and +1 right. Exactly. Right now, at this point, I'm just thinking about the literal edge cases. But you know what? Let's start with the usual thing. I mean, I've done this countless times so far, especially with Finesweeper. So this, and in Finesweeper you have 8 neighbors, so this is easier. So right, top neighbor. So the top neighbor is, let's call it n equals, or n index is the current I minus the stride. Right, it's just the same thing on top. But what if it's, if I minus stride, not string, stride is still greater than the array length? No, it's still greater than 0, because if we want to go to something that sits right on the top, we need to wrap around from the other side, right? So neighbor should be the one that's on the very last row, right? And by width I mean grid horizontal size. Yeah. Meanwhile I'm working on a grid of my own. Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to see someone else tackle a similar problem as you, because either way you get a new insight into your problem, or in your case you at least know how not to do things, I would hope. So okay, so we only do this, okay, for right now I'm just going to ignore all the edge cases, and then we say, okay, first we say the current tile, let's just say T is the current tile, right? So we just plug this here and say, yeah, the current tile is this one here. And if the tile of the type is not glue, then we continue. So if I minus stride is still greater than 0, then T neighbors tile neighbor north is I minus array board I minus stride. Otherwise, of course, it doesn't work, because in the first row we're still in the first row. But this is cool. I think this works. Okay, so without the edge cases, let's say bottom neighbor. And also this comes with the caveat that if I plus the stride is less than the array length, array board, the length was -1, right? That I have to have -1. So then it's plus the stride. Cool. And this is of course neighbor south. Good thing. Then we got the left neighbor. This is if I minus left 1 again, but this is not when we're in a new row, when we're at the start of a certain row, of course. Just note to self to do make or special case, or make special rule when first item or first tile on a row, exclamation point. So if I minus 1 is still greater than 0, then the neighbors to the west is the array board minus I. West minus, yes, good. So, and for the right neighbor we have the same problem if we're on the last tile on a row. Just to make sure that I set it down there in text. If I plus 1, let's put this in brackets just to make sure, is less than the array board minus 1, yes, Neighbor to the east is not plus stride, is just plus -1 and +1. Good. Okay. Let's run this, and ideally this shouldn't do anything, or at least it shouldn't throw on exactly that. Stride not set before reading it. One. Of course, I didn't just call it stride, right? I call it array stride. But you know what? I didn't use this array stride before. I always used board tiles W, so I think maybe this makes more sense if I don't use the stride. Because it's the same thing, I just called it differently. So just copy. I like to copy and replace manually so that I always see where I actually used it. Okay, so this looks good. It still compiles and it still runs. This is nice. And I want to see on all of the, you know what, I need to make a new font then. I want to see the instance ID by which a tile is referenced to be written on all of the resource tiles, so then I can check and make sure that all the right tiles are referenced. So for this I just make a new font, create a new font and call it FNT debug small, and for this I will use some programmer font. Let's say maybe Helvetica. No, that's not it. Lucida Mono. Liberation Mono is even better. So just make it 10 pixels. Yeah, this should be good. And on the tile clue, where's my tile object? Good. So I just write down if type is of tile type. No. If type equals tile type resource, then we set the font, we set the color, and draw the ID. Right at the top. Font debug small. Let's see if this works. And I've been neglecting the chat. Okay, so it works, but you can't really see it. And I can't quite zoom in because this stupid block is not working. Why aren't you working? Let me try this again. Exit and glass brick. There we go. Does it work now? I have no idea why. Sometimes it works and sometimes it does not with this stupid glass brick. Show settings. Zoom, yes, Win and Alt. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm trying. Okay, Win and Alt. It keeps ignoring me. I'm really sorry. I can't zoom into this now, but you know what I can do is just make the game bigger that we can see it better. 1920 by 1080, so it will run in relatively full screen, but at least we can read the numbers. Why can't we do this? Of course, I should do this here in the init, because Fuse and GameMaker is always a problem. Yeah, now we can read it. I hope you can also see it here. I can't zoom in. This is really annoying. I can't zoom in. I'm sorry. And right, chat. I'm literally generating a word search board by hand. Oh, you're not coding then. Making it myself is the best way to avoid accidentally generating bad words by a computer that doesn't know better. Oh yes, the good old S star system in Elite Dangerous, I think it was. Or not the Dangerous, just Elite. On the other hand, if bad words still slip in, you have no excuse. That's true, then it's all by intent. Beta testers! Working on a word search board generator on the side, but it's not done yet and I want to test the whole board code, so I'm just making one to test. Keyboard enabled. Yes, the keyboard is enabled in the glass brick because I mean keyboard enabled. I think this is just for the zoom speed, but because it's still ignoring it. I mean I've set this up for I don't know how many times now, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I haven't quite figured out why it does that. Maybe Control and Alt, or Control, Win and Alt. Let's try this. Nope. Nope, still doesn't do it. Last ditch effort is I will exit it now and boot it up again. I mean, just the Glassbrick app. Interestingly, the developer or the site is not there anymore. Once I thought maybe there would be an update or something, but it's not being sold anymore, and I haven't found a good equivalent for it. And I paid, I mean, what was it, like $15 or something? It really wasn't that cheap, but still, I would rather it worked. So, mouse, scroll wheel, key combo plus scroll wheel. Accelerate, yeah, no, yes. Sorry, doesn't work. Windows accessibility tools. Yeah, there is the magnifying tool, but I don't like it because I don't like it. It's so clunky and doesn't really. Right now, the easiest for me is just hit a key combo and not draw up the stupid screen magnifier or something. You know what I could do is to make this small debug font a little bit bigger, just for us, that it reads better there on screen. Yeah, I think now this is legible. I don't like it because I don't like it. Exactly. Yeah, maybe I should collect some quotes. Okay. Right now I've been streaming for 3 hours now, so I want to get this to a close. So right now I really just want to, since everything starts here with a 100.006, 100.008, 100, so I say I will just take out this 100 because all the IDs start with 100, so I'm just that it's not this longer string. Object tile, right, and I just make here a ID stir equals string ID, and I just chop off the first 3 digits. So string, how do I do this? String count, delete string index, delete string index count. I think this is what I want. What do you want with the count? You can use this function to remove a specific part of a string. So you supply the input string and the start and end position. Okay, so I want to, from the string ID, I want to delete the position of the first character to remove 0 and the number of characters to remove 3. Right. One too many. There we go. Phil's nuggets of wisdom, yeah. Why doesn't it? Oh, of course, yeah, I should say. It should print ID string. And it does not what I wanted to do. Why doesn't it? String delete string ID 0 index and count. Maybe we start with 1. Index starts at 1, says the, yeah. Now here we go. So I can actually start and delete 4 digits. So just that it's easier to read on the screen for one thing, these numbers there, and that I can print them nicer there in the clues. Okay, so let's say if type equals tile type clue. Right, and now I want to set the font to see white, that we know that it's differently, and yeah, I will do this draw thing here as well, just to see that it's working. Yes, okay, this also works for the clues. And now I want to draw the top neighbor, the number of the top neighbor on top, the number of the bottom neighbor on the bottom of the cell, and so on. So let's try this. And again, I can see that I always want to use this truncation here, that I want to use the ID as this truncated string there. So I make a new script, and I create a new script, and I call this script function script1 trunk ID, and we get the ID and we return the truncated ID. Cool. Now where's the thing that I just did? There. So I just call it trunk ID and give it the ID. Right. So I don't need this anymore, and because I can reuse it that way easily. So trunk ID, return, string delete, string, string, let's call this string. No, it's a reserved word, str ID. There we go. I just give it an ID and it returns the truncated one. This is good. This is exactly what I want. So, okay, top. First we need to get the neighbors. So, okay, for the top I just say y plus 28, and then we get the truncated ID of neighbors tile neighbor north. Well, if it exists, right? So if it doesn't exist, well, then it probably will complain anyway. So I just try this and run this, and it will probably crash. No, it won't crash, but it really doesn't show anything. Why doesn't it show anything? Well, there it does. There it does. 04. This is correct. 06 is correct. 08 is correct. 10 is correct. 42 is correct. Okay, so this works. It's just not in the right spot. So because this was throwing me off a little bit. Okay, so on top is 4. Top here is 6, and there is nothing on top, so it doesn't write it out. Okay, I can work with this. So this is good. Then let's say bottom, tile neighbor north south, and we draw it at 24 and at y plus 55, so that it's on the top bottom of the tile itself. Yeah, this was a bit too much, but 13, 15, 15. Yeah, this is also correct. This is nice. Let's just say 48. Okay, this is going better than anticipated. So let's do this also with left and right. Left is 24, but we want to have it here. It's also 24. And right becomes 48 and 24. So left is west, east is right. Huh. And 26, this is good. 26, this is wrong. Okay, so clearly I've made a mistake there, but not a big one. Let's say just 40. I made a mistake, but not a big one. And this must be here. -1 plus 1. Tiles neighbor east. The left neighbor is west. So the array board is I minus 21. And if I plus 1 is less than the array board minus 1, then the neighbors to the east, or did I specify it here? Oh yeah, this was the problem. Okay, so the right is east and the left is west. Okay, so it was just a display problem, and with that, wow, okay. Index out of range and draw line 30. So something there is clearly abort. This one here is the index is out of range, and this is exactly what I wanted to avoid. Why is it the west out of range? Step create, because 0, 1, 2, 3. This shouldn't be out of range. You know what? I will make the array 1 larger than it needs to be, and I just call it size there here in the enumerator. So this one should be, oh, of course, yeah, now it makes sense. No, it does not. It does not. I thought tile neighbor west was the last entry. Maybe now it works. Does not. Size, perhaps. Out of range, 3 in neighbors. Okay. I don't understand it. Why this is exactly here the problem. Neighbor west. Probably because I didn't account for a change, a special case here. East and west. If I -1, then maybe I try here just else t neighbors equals array board -1. I just give it a number of 9999999. Then we know something is up. Okay, here with the very first one, this was because I didn't specify anything there, and this was the problem here. Okay, so maybe too many 9s. Okay, so this was the problem here, but looks good so far that on each that the neighbors are set correctly. And I think with that I will call it a day for today. So what my next steps will be, well, of course, trying to get the neighbor, in this case the 59, in this case the 10, and so on. So yeah, that it just wraps around, and once I have this, I can really start and try to populate the field with clues, and then switch to pluses and minus the signs of each the resources according to the clues. And then once this is done, at some point I can start actually making it clickable or something, because right now it's just getting this random level generation algorithm sorted out before I can do anything else in terms of actual gaming and testing. But hey, so far I think I've accomplished pretty much what I wanted to accomplish today. We got a nice tile field in an array. And also we managed to get this checkerboard thing done. Again, thank you so much for everyone who helped me on this. Yeah, and we also found the neighbors of each of those blue clues. Beautiful. 9 is also what the computer said. 999. Exactly. This is what the computer says. 9. For those who don't know, 9 is German for no. Okay. So I'm also looking forward to changing my screen size, because again, this is a bit ridiculously big, but at least you can follow along in the stream. I would hope so. But for me, it's just yeah, it's just this tiny little window through which I'm looking at my code. But save this, and I will probably also do some sort of backup now, because once something works, you compile it and you file it, so that you always have a very backup solution. If you have an exe of the last working version of your game before you introduce something new. This is what I like to do. But other people use Git, and this is probably better than how I roll things. But for me, I think for myself, it's much more of a hassle to exclude certain files from my Git, because with all the assets and so on, and I try to not to litter code, art on my code everywhere, but it happens. So yeah, for me, it's just easier if I just put it all in a zip, put today's date on it, and then I have the backup of the entire project. Cool. Okay, thank you so much for staying with me and watching. I still get a little bit of my spicy coffee for today. So it's 12, it's midnight here, and I work tomorrow. So again, thank you so much for following me along this wild journey. Let me switch over. Hi, thank you for following me on this wild journey of me trying to program my microcomputer. It went actually very well, and I'm very grateful that you all peer-reviewed my code as I was typing it, and also fixing things there, and allowed me to copy-paste your solution. So thank you for that. And yeah, I hope I see you next week. Probably will be working on this. Maybe I will also do something Ugh, the spice is getting caught in my throat. Maybe I will do some programming during the week, and then I will just summarize all the changes, if I made any, or where we just pick up where I left today. Lady Misliff says, I'd recommend Git, but I've seen your backup system. I think you're fine. Yeah, it's again with Git. To me, it feels more of a hassle than just rolling my backup, mostly because I'm just used to how I roll things around here. But as I always say, in the end, use what works best for you. In the end, the result is what counts, and the result is not losing code or not losing any data. For long-term projects, I'd say something like Git is worth it. For jams, it probably makes no difference. I think when I was working doing the Headroom game with Max in Unity, I think I'm not quite sure if we used Git, but I think we used Git, and at one point he was really happy that he could go back to a version that was like 3 or 4 hours ago and really see only the changes that were made, and not where you have to puzzle out or piece together from comparing two views in Notepad. Where was the change? Which one did what? So this is also something that Git is very good at, just showing you the changes and not the entire thing where you have to essentially just figure out yourself where things deviate from each other. The main difference is that your commit messages make some sense. You can figure out why something changed 6 months from now. Yeah, provided you give yourself some hints at what changed, because sometimes I'm committing this now. Please make a description. Made some changes. I've typed this like too often, at least only with my personal projects. As you all know, thankfully I'm not working as a programmer. This is why the world still stands. But I've looked at one of my codes and back then from Git, and it's read, made some changes. Yeah, no shit, you made some changes. Anyway. So this is just some advice from my side of how not to do things. Yeah, those are useless, exactly. Because the entire point of Git is that you made some changes. So please go ahead. Tell me what you changed. I changed something in the code. Beautiful. Beautiful is also how long I've been streaming for today. So it was 3 hours again, and it was also a joy doing some color work there for Lady Misleaf. So I hope this also helped or was interesting to some of you. And as always, I see you next week, and with some more water and some more unicorns to praise. And I hope you stay well, you have a great week. And until then, let me find the right button again. I should get more organized. But hey, at least we still got some music there. Not music, audio on the microphone. The music ended a long time ago. I should really get my technical things sorted out. So again, thank you for the stream. Thank you for watching. See you around, and have a great week.